This Daytona 500 DFS Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We are also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
It continues to be Daytona week here in the NASCAR Gambling Podcast world on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. And after that mega episode yesterday, Cody, it's time to catch our breaths and come back down to a much normal sized episode. Just have some fun talking DFS because the books have not seen fit yet to give us full odds for Xfinity or trucks yet. So.
Yeah, they're starting to trickle out a little bit, but we'll give them another day. That way we can have a nice full episode tomorrow with both trucks and Xfinity picks. So, make sure you come back tomorrow for that. But DFS, underdog picks, Daytona 500, that sounds like a good thing to hold us off in the meantime before we get more betting picks in.
It is, and as we know, Super Speedway DFS is probably the most fun that you'll ever have in your life. I know Cody's got the hat ready, and his daughter's ready to start picking some random numbers because, listen, as we've said it once, we've said it a million times before, look, Super Speedway racing, some of the most unpredictable racing that you can have. That means anybody is in play at any point of any time, so building these DFS rosters can be as fun as just throwing darts at a wall and seeing exactly which numbers you want to pick from.
Yeah, almost literally. I mean, you can throw darts at a wall. You can draw numbers out of a hat. I've done those things and won some money with it before. Don't turn the show off because there is actually some good plays we can give you, right? And some strategy around it. It's similar to betting. If you listen to yesterday's Mega Daytona 500 Picks episode, it's kind of the same thing where there are certain guys who are just better at it, and those are the types of guys you want to target. There are some guys who are worse at it. Maybe those are the guys you want to avoid or fade in the underdog streets, which we'll get to. But still, it's super speedway racing and anything can happen. And everyone is in play. And everyone really in DFS, more so than betting, everyone is in play on a week-to-week basis throughout the NASCAR season because you still have to get your cheap plays in there and you can still find advantages. But even more so in the Daytona 500 and at the super speedways of Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega.
And sometimes you want those guys that are in the back that are the lowest prices that are going to be trailing around the back because they have the biggest opportunity to just find that right surging line and get in there and actually move up in some points differential. Or more importantly, they don't lose you points because there's some of those guys at the front could end up losing you a ton of points if they get in a wreck.
Real quick, Rod, and the one final piece of advice for your DraftKings fantasy lineups. Unless you want to have, the heart rate monitor going. If you want to count it as your workout, because that's what I'll be doing, Rod. That's going to count as my workout for the week, is watching those lineups live because they change so quickly. The number, suddenly you're winning a lot of money, then suddenly you're not winning any money. It changes so drastically and so quick. And a lot of times, they're wrecking on the final lap or whatever the case is. Things aren't even settled for multiple minutes until after the race. So, it's quite the ride, but hey, that's what we're here for is the sweat, right?
And yeah, that's exactly what we're here for, is the sweat. But also, don't be afraid to leave money on the table too if you are scared about that. Yeah,
a lot of I've left building super speedway lineups before. I've left $14,000 worth of salary. Don't be afraid to do that. Obviously, we don't know starting positions as we're recording this on a Wednesday evening here, or Wednesday afternoon rather. But yeah, you can leave a lot of money on the table as you go throughout this process.
Yes, you can. But don't leave on the table your opportunity to win with us. Football's over. Yes, indeed. But we are back. That means we got next, kids. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. You can sign up today, right now, this very second. Actually, I don't care what you're doing. Just, just put your phone back on. Have the video play. Yeah. Pull over, sign up now at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona for our free Daytona 500 contest. You're going to be entered to win a $100 in cold hard cash and a $100 SGPN gift card, plus a ton of random prizes. Cody displayed one of them last night, which was the Race Officials of Terrorist shirts. It's available in the merch store if you don't win it. But if you want to win it, enter now, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to sign up. All right, Cody. So normally when we do DFS episodes, especially across the board, especially the last couple seasons, we've done it for all three series. I think this season we'll just go ahead and focus on just Cup season or Cup series. And then, join us in Discord, because we're always going to give you our favorite DFS plays for both of the other series. And we'll make some shorts out of them every once in a while in the season. But I think for the most part, this season we'll just focus more on the Cup Series DFS and Cup Series Underdog. That way everybody has plenty of opportunity. And we're not trying to scramble for these picks. And when they come out, we could just get them to you.
Yeah, it just gives us more of an opportunity to talk about the Cup guys. Obviously, that's the main thing. That's what a lot of people play fantasy in. That being said, Xfinity, trucks, listen to the betting episode that we're going to have for those always. You're going to get a lot of good information there. And like Rod said, Discord's going to be a good place for us. We're going to try and up our shorts game this year and do more YouTube shorts with some of the stuff we're just not able to cover being 3 days a week here on the show. So make sure you're subscribed to another great reason to subscribe over to the YouTube, because if you're just listening to the podcast, that's great. Again, we're kind of both podcast guys. That's how we tend to listen too, but we're going to have some YouTube exclusive stuff also. So you want to make sure you're subscribed, click the bell over there. That way you do get notified when we post those, and you can get in on the action as well.
I thought you were talking about upping my shorts game, like getting shorter shorts or maybe even longer shorts. I don't know. This summer.
That too, Rod. We'll talk about your shorts game, but for now we'll stick to the YouTube shorts game.
Fun fact, though, in high school, I was so embarrassed of my hairy legs that I never wore shorts. I wore pants essentially all throughout high school, and it wasn't until I joined the Army and I was forced to wear shorts that I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm Sasquatch.
Did you not notice that everybody else has hairy? Are your legs that hairy, Rod?
Dude, I have been told and as a young age too, right? I mean, that was what was embarrassing. Like, I mean, look, if I'm a grown man and I got like super hairy legs, whatever, but like as a skinny kid with gigantic hairy legs, it was a whole thing. It's why I am what I am today. Getting teased for that. So
learn something new every day, friends.
Yeah, well, this is what you didn't want to learn. Everyone's like, and send. All the new listeners we picked up yesterday are gone. So welcome to those of you that stuck around for my hairy legs story.
If you are a new listener from yesterday and you've tuned back in today, props to you. That means we must have done something right to bring you back, and we appreciate it. And yeah, like Rod said before, I think we're here all season long. We're gonna have 3 episodes every single week, not just for Daytona. It'll be next week at Atlanta, Coda. I think we have, is it 39 straight weeks of racing? Because the Cup Series gets 1 week off, but Trucks and Xfinity are racing the week the Cup Series has off. Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, Rod.
It is the way God intended it to be, racing every Sunday until the foreseeable future. So, and that's not even counting like the Formula One that we got, IndyCar coming up. Obviously, we won't talk about it in this episode or in this show, but we will maybe every once in a while. Depending on time permitting, we can bring something up like that. But we are here today to talk to you about the Daytona 500, the DFS episode. We are set for 200 laps around this 2.5-mile paved track at the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. Cody, there's a lot to be had. There's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of, as we've talked about over the course of the offseason, new drivers in new rides that are going to be shaking up this field.
Yeah, it's trying to get reacquainted to where everybody's at, what they're in, which is sort of nice. We've got kind of a full week of on track activity now. Practice was this morning. If you want to know what we think about practice times, they don't fucking matter. Don't look at them at all. The Toyotas drafted together. That's why they were fastest. I would be shocked if they're the fastest in tonight's qualifying session. Single car qualifying is this evening. If you're listening today on Wednesday when this comes out, and then tomorrow we've got the duels at Daytona. That, of course, will set the lineup. We've sort of talked about that, yesterday. But just to refresh, too, we do have 9 open drivers in this field. Those are all listed on DraftKings. So if you go set a lineup now, you might want to check back out in after Thursday once the official lineup is set because, obviously some guys are no longer going to be in the race. And DraftKings does have, Rod, duels contests as well. So you can have a DraftKings lineup for both duels once they set the lineups tonight. Obviously, you'll be able to put those in, which will be great. And if you're over in the Discord, sg.pn/Discord, we do post a weekly $5 game for everything. We'll have it for both the duels. We'll have it for the 500. We'll have it for Xfinity and trucks as well. Just the people from the Discord playing against each other, handful of us in there. And a good little time. You can come take our money from us.
Yeah, which, it's always a free donation when you're playing me. I don't know what it is about my NASCAR DFS anymore. It just feels like maybe I just try to get too cute. And so or maybe I'm just trying to make a donation to you anyways, each and every week. So
there you go.
I feel bad taking your guys' money because that's just the way it is.
I don't feel bad, but I don't do it that often. So it's fine.
Well, it's funny. So I was going back through all of my footage because I was looking for that particular pit stop that I put on our new intro, right, from the Chase Elliott pit stop. And I went back and I was going through all kinds of old screenshots because that's what you did back then when you were doing Twitter was screenshotting. And I was going through and I was like, man, I have some arena football, DFS, some CF. I was really good at DFS back in the day. I don't know what happened to me. I feel like I got too far off the straight path, but trying to get back on this year, and I'm going to take all your money or you take mine. I
love it.
Me too. All right. Again, so we when we talk about DFS lineups for this, the course of this show, we will give you our favorite high price driver, our favorite mid price driver, and our favorite low price driver for the slate. So each one of us gives you our favorite pick for that position. At the end of it, you can use all 6 if you want. If they fit, normally they do. So maybe today they will. I don't know. We haven't tried it yet. And then of course we'll come back after the break and we'll give you our underdog fantasy picks for this as well, where you choose whether or not the driver is going to finish higher than or lower than their better than or worse than their finishing positions or projections. And yeah, that you can actually stack all of those up as well. There's no obviously dollar amount there. You can just keep going until the multiplier tells you to stop. But if you haven't tried an underdog yet, we'll tell you how to get involved in that in a little while. But that's the premise of our DFS shows. Again, if you're new to this and this is the first time you're listening, so that's why we're setting it up the way we do. We always preview the race first and then give you our picks and have a good time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as you're setting your lineups in here, Rod, main thing you're going to be looking at is finishing position. Really is what matters the most, right? Fastest laps are going to be impossible to determine because it's going to be spread throughout the field. We had more of a conversation on that yesterday in that betting episode because that's actually a market you can bet now is fastest laps. And looking back through past years, a lot of the fastest laps, John Nemechek is actually the favorite to be the most fastest laps leader, but it's only 12 fastest laps, so that's only, I think, 6 points. So big difference doesn't really make, right? Same thing with laps led. You made that point yesterday. The leader of the race that leads the most laps doesn't usually lead that either. So the main thing here is is finishing position and then also place differential. Obviously, we don't know the starting lineups at this point, but if you got some guys starting farther back, you're going to want to pick those guys over the guys starting up front.
Yeah. And again, when we give you our picks, we're setting it up from an aspect of we'll take into account the starting position on some of these guys, but obviously we never know. We never know where they're going to start. So sometimes the play gets better because of the fact that they're starting and they got a chance to move up and we'll always give you where we think they'll fall in the mix and how they'll perform no matter where they're at in the field.
Yeah. And at a track like Daytona, it can go either way, right? I mean, you're really risking it even more so if you play a guy that starts on the front row because he does have the ability to have so many negative points. But if he ends up being there at the end of the race, he's probably led some laps, gets a good finishing position. He could still be optimal. I mean, and any mixture, like whatever the infinite number of combinations are for building these lineups, could be the ideal lineup for a place like Daytona, which is, again, to your point earlier, what makes super speedway fantasy so much fun.
It does indeed. Okay, well, we'll get you set up with our picks in just a second, but I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about Edge Boost. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having, and let's just face it, the heartbreak of having your card denied at a sports book, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, casino, or wherever there it is that's denying you. If your institution is denying you, which, believe me, I've had that happening before, just write them and say, it's my money, let me have it, and I'll put it wherever I want. But you know what? You don't have to do it with Edge Boost. They will do it, and they will allow you to spend your money however you see fit. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And you know the money's safe. The card is FDIC insured, so it's not some willy-nilly, just crazy one that you pick up at a gas station that you don't know who's got access to your money. No, FDIC insuring this money. Best part, no credit check, and it's completely free. Sign up today. Use the promo code SGPN so you can get better cashback rewards and instant tier 2 status. We're pulling back the velvet rope for you and letting you into the VIP suite. No, I'm going to use my Edge Boost rewards on one of the bets that I gave out last night, and it's a car number bet. So go back and listen to that episode. I want you to listen and find out which car number bet I'm going to be using my Edge Boost card to place. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Let me tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet every sport, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. Easy deposit and lightning fast payout using crypto. You can head to mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. So as we do each and every DFS episode, which, by the way, happy first DFS episode of the year, my friend, we break down for you, like I said, our high price, our mid-tier, and our low price drivers. So Cody, we start at the top. Who is your favorite high price driver for the Daytona 500?
Daytona 500, boogity, boogity, boogity. Right, I'm going to kick it off with Kyle fucking Busch. $9,300 near the top of the board here. I like the narrative, the 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. That's him racing for RCR this year. The one big thing missing from Kyle Busch's resume is a Daytona 500 championship. He has been really close, specifically 2 years ago when he was leading at the end of regulation, lost the race in overtime. He's tied with Bubba Wallace for the best average finish at Daytona in the next-gen car, 9.3. Thanks to our friends over at iFantasy Racing for that. Finished second place here in the fall race. So back it up a little bit here, right? What you're looking for Daytona, for Super Speedway DFS, is consistency. There are certain guys you could talk about, and I guess I haven't looked at your lineup, so maybe I'll throw one of them out there. Who knows? But certain guys, like we had people asking yesterday, like, why is there not more love for like Brad Keselowski? Well, Brad, while a good super speedway guy and could easily go out and win this race, is also very much a checkers or wreckers super speedway racer. So especially when he's more the favorite, if you would have bet on him to win, I get that, but hard to find him in any other markets, less trustworthy in DFS. Now, that's not to say he couldn't go out and be optimal, because obviously anybody can. And if he does hit, he hits. But if you're looking for somebody that's very consistent, look no further than my guy Kyle Busch here. Second place in the fall, 12th place in last year's 500. 7th place in the fall of 23. He did have that 19th in the 500 back in 23, but that's the race where he was leading at the end of 500 miles. At the end of the Daytona 500, he was the leader. Unfortunately, it was the Daytona 500 and something that day, and so he ended up in 19th place, but in the right position at the right time, had that been the final lap of the race. 10th place in the fall of 22, 6th place in the 22 500. So that's your 6 next-gen races. 5 of them 12th place or better. The 19th is sort of the outlier, but even that, not a horrible finish compared to where you could be finishing. He's got 7 finishes inside of the top 3 here at Daytona in his career, 13 times inside the top 10. He's won at this track before, obviously not the 500, but in the fall race, he just won at Talladega 2 seasons ago back in 2023. He was inches inches away from winning at Atlanta last season, and has 4 top 10 finishes in a row at Atlanta. Again, Atlanta in the new configuration, super speedway like. I mean, it is just a super speedway track at this point. So I do love some Kyle Busch this weekend. So yeah, he's gonna get. I'm gonna get in on him as my high price driver at $9,300.
It's got to happen at some point. The dam has to break. It has to be Kyle Busch's year, one of these years. And I'm with you. Yeah. The more
Tony Stewart's on the line. He says it doesn't have to be.
No, that's true. Actually, yeah. poor Tony. But no, I the more I dig into Kyle Busch, obviously, I did back you with him as an outright last night because I just feel like, yeah, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. Kyle Busch is too good of a driver to not have a Daytona 500 win. So I think he's got to truck it around. And if for nothing else, he should finish well anyways, given the situation. And if he doesn't win, it doesn't matter, especially in DFS. As long as he has a really solid day and gets you good points, then you're happy with it. So, all right, my high price driver.
Shout out real quick, Rod, to the chat. Chris checking in.
Oh, Chris.
Let's go, Larson. He says, I don't want to spoil his pick on the Daytona 500 contest, Rod. I'll leave it up to your imagination who he picked, but he included a nice little note to me next to his pick. So yeah, shout out to you, Chris, for that. Don't worry, we're gonna have some Kyle Larson talk later in the show, so I'm sure you'll want to stick around for that.
I mean, it's almost hard to not have Kyle Larson talk at this point. So, all right, my first high price driver, Ryan Blaney, coming in at $9,700. This is one where I tell you right now, if people are paying attention, they will not be on Ryan Blaney. And this is where you get to jump in, because if people are looking at Ryan Blaney's stats and if they're going to the same places that we are, they're going to go, why would you suggest a guy that's crashed out of the last 3 Daytona races with finishes of 36th, 30th, and 29th? Why would you go for a guy who is 32nd in the next gen speed rankings at Daytona? Why would you go for a guy that's 17th in average finish heat chart here on this, according to our friends at iFantasy Race? And I will tell you, because it's Ryan Blaney. Because all he needs is to be able to do it once, and you will benefit from that. He had an 8th place finish in the 2023 Daytona 500. He won the fall race in 2021, a 4th place finish in the 2022 Daytona 500, and a 15th place finish in the fall of the 2022 season as well. Fully capable of doing it. 100% capable. 7 top 10 finishes in 19 starts. I know that still leaves 12 that weren't top 10 finishes, but it's Daytona, and 9 of those were DNFs. So it's frustrating that, out of the 10 races that he's finished, he finished in the top 10 7 of those times, and 4 of them inside of the top 5. So when he finishes this race, he finishes it well. So you want to talk about, especially in a situation in a super speedway where any one of these guys can crash out, why not go and put your money behind a guy that when he does actually finish this race, finishes very, very well, and you're going to get a good return on him because you're a win or a 2nd place finish or a 7th place finish, right? I mean, just look at his top 5 finishes that he had in 2017 in the Daytona 500, 2nd. And he was running the 21 Wood Brothers car in that one as well. In the 2018 Daytona 500, a 7th place finish. In the 2020 Daytona 500, a 2nd place finish. So I'm telling you, Ryan Blaney will finish somewhere in the top 10 if he finishes this race. And I think when you talk about other guys up here, that's not the case. And so what you're looking for is, like Cody said, a good finishing position overall in this one, and a good top 5 finish or a good top 10 finish is good enough to return a decent amount on your investment on this one. He's not going to go out and lead you a ton of laps, right? He's not going to go out and be the guy that's going to tear it around this whole thing. But I will say that you're going to be in a good position if he can find his way to finishing at the end of this. And it's not even that bad too, because if you look in terms of laps led on this track, Ryan Blaney, the 5th in active drivers as far as laps led around this track with 208. So he's actually led some laps in this one as well. So he can get you a few there, get you some fast laps, and again, a good finish. And maybe if he starts outside of the top 15, some good place differential. So This is one, like I said, where I think you'll be able to differentiate yourself from the rest of it because everybody's going to go, ugh, Ryan Blaney's terrible finishing positions, but they're not going to dig deep enough to see that if he finishes this race, you're in solid position.
Yeah, so he is a bit of a higher risk but high reward guy, right? We've seen Penske be really good in the Daytona 500 specifically over the years, especially if they can all get hooked up and do really well. So would not be surprised to see a good day from Blaney. Willow checking in the chat. When do the open drivers know if they're in or out? Thursday, question mark. So we sort of covered this yesterday, but just to go over it real quick, they're going to have single car qualifying tonight, Rod. So you've got the 9 open cars for the 4 open spots. The 2 fastest cars in open qualifying tonight will lock themselves in. So whoever that is, they will lock themselves in. Then tomorrow, all of the open cars will race in the duels. The 2 best finishing, I believe it's 1 from each duel. I think I'll have to double check on that, but I think it's 1 from each duel. The best finishing ones, or maybe it's just best finishing overall. Again, we'll have to double check on that, but they will get the other 2 spots. If one of those 2 best finishers is one of the 2 fastest guys from tonight, then they will take the finishing spot, and then the 3rd fastest guy from tonight will take the next spot. So sort of a convoluted deal. And then Elio Castroneves could qualify in as one of those 4 guys. It'll remain a 40-car field. If he doesn't qualify in as one of those 40 guys, they'll add an additional 41st entry. He won't be eligible for prize money or points, which he's not racing for anyways, but he will make the race, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect and 100% sense. So, but yeah, to
it
answer
makes
your
sense
question,
in NASCAR eyes.
exactly. No, to answer your question, yeah, they'll know after the duels whether or not they make it because there's after the duels, that's it. The field is set. So, you
yeah,
don't
and
make
that's the other
duels, you're
good
done.
thing too is we do the lineups will be set Thursday night, so you'll have Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday morning to go through and build as many lineups as you want because the lineup isn't going to change after Thursday night. A lot of times, we don't get it until Saturday in qualifying. A lot of times the truck series, and I think it is even this week, they qualify on the same day, which is fine, right? But it's more of a time crunch. Doesn't give you as much time to look at it, but plenty of time this week to be able to set your lineup.
Yes, and you should take full advantage of that and enter early and often, and then just continue to do so. So, all right, we will give you a step down in our picks and give you the mid-tier drivers. But before we do, I want to tell you about Underdog Fantasy, NBA, NHL, college basketball, whatever your sport, you can cash in big with Underdog Fantasy. Pick 'em. We're about to give you a ton of our favorite Underdog Fantasy plays for the Daytona 500, so hang tight for those. But in the meantime, as you're waiting, sign up with our promo code SGPN, RACE SGPN, to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACE SGPN. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. You can build your own model. You can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or you can have Rhythm build a model for you. NFL picks, NFL props, college basketball, NBA, Rhythm has it all. I'm telling you right now, everybody laughed at me. The world laughed at me when I said Saquon Barkley was not going to get 100 rushing yards in the game, in the Super Bowl this last Sunday. Rhythm helped me determine that it was not going to happen. And guess what? He didn't get there, and the world was wrong to laugh at me. I want all of you to apologize right now. I'll wait. That's fine. I won't wait. But anyways, Rhythm definitely helped me get there, and it can help you get to where you need to be on your favorite props too. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. There's not enough dead air in the world for me to wait for everybody to apologize for that. So, yeah.
Well, I think I was sort of on the fact that he probably would get more, but I told you my Rhythm model was showing that the receiving yards is what he would hit, and he fucking smashed it. So happy with that, Rod. All right, should we head to some mid-tier drivers? In salary only, not in our hearts. Definitely not mid-tier drivers, but somebody who's always in my heart, Rod. Tyrone Gibbs. Yes, friends, finally get a chance to talk about him. Just couldn't find a way to bet on him that I liked yesterday in the betting episode, but is a guy that I wanted to highlight, especially in the DFS streets here. I think that he's going to be a guy that does very much go under the radar. A lot of people just aren't sure what to think of him, where are we at, blah, 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 right? And it's been a mixed bag of results on super speedways. So I think that will help keep the rostership low for him, but potentially he's got some high results for you. So he's got 5 career Daytona starts in the Cup Series, 13th place in his first start in the fall of 22. That's a pretty good finish. 25th, a 35th, not the best. 17th place in last year's 500, so that was a decent finish, but 5th place in the fall last year. So he's progressively gotten a little better. You had the 135th place in there. Look, wrecks happen. It's Daytona. That's how it works, right? But progressively kind of gotten better and better. You like that. He's got 2 top 10 finishes in his 4 Atlanta starts. I like that as well. He also just finished 13th place in the fall race at Talladega. And I think it was 2 years ago, had a chance to win a Talladega race late, ended up running out of fuel, unfortunately. And we didn't really get to see the end of that come into fruition and how maybe he would have fared. But I've seen enough glimpses of Gibbs be good and be strong on the super speedways that I like him. As the mid-tier guy here at 7,400, I think that he's a guy that just not a lot of people are going to gravitate to. They're going to go for the big names up top and some of the cheaper guys, the guys that are going to probably start farther in the back at the bottom. And I think Gibbs could just be kind of left out there alone, but could be a key guy in your fantasy lineup this week.
I'm still not 1,000% sure which.
That's my point, Rod. Thank you. You proved it.
You're welcome. Well, but I had to make amends. I was bullied into making amends, and then he comes out and has a very flat showing at the Clash. Which, by the way, yes, I know you can't really take anything out of that. But look, I mean, for a guy that's supposed to set the world on fire, he should have lit the match at the duels or at the Clash, and I don't think he did that. So, Daytona, this is it, Ty Gibbs, you and me. I think this is going to set the tone as to what kind of season I think you're going to have, even though it's a super speedway race and you're still not. How many times are we supposed to say we don't put weight into a race until we've figured out that they're good, right? I don't know. Maybe when we get to Vegas, that's that, or not in Vegas. What's even the first race after Atlanta now? This new schedule.
Coda. We got a road course after the two super speedways, Rod. So really starting out the season strange.
All right, Ty. I don't know what kind of relationship we're going to have this year. I wanted to be on your side, but we'll see. All right. Somebody I know I'm on his side already, and this is one Justin Allgaier driving that 40 JRM car. It's an open car, right? So we don't know whether or not he's going to end up making the race, but it's a JRM car, which we know works closely with Hendrick, which we know everybody involved is got their fingers in each other's businesses. So, man, I'm telling you, Justin Allgaier is going to be a monster. I think he's going to make it in the race for sure. And if he does, then this is going to offer some really good salary relief for he's $7,000 for Justin Allgaier. And the Xfinity Series champion of last year has been a beast at Daytona over the last few races in the Xfinity Series. A 3rd place in the fall of 2021, 5th place in the spring of 2022, 13th, 3rd, 1st, 8th, 7th. That's a string of top 10 finishes there for Justin Allgaier. How many? In 28 starts, 14 top 10 finishes, 8 top 5s in that win. He only has 8 DNFs in those 28 starts as well. So great plate track racer, great super speedway racer, great, has the ability to not only feel the energy, but also, especially the drafting partners he's going to have in this particular race, right? He's going to have all of the Hendrick drivers and the Chevy drivers are going to want to play with them. All of the Xfinity holdovers from the Chevy days are going to want to be on it because Justin Allgaier is just a good dude. Doesn't have a whole lot of enemies out there. So he's going to be able to stay clean. I'm kind of hoping he does start in the back. I hope he does kind of not have a good showing in qualifying and in some of the duels, because then that just means that he's going to have so much more point differential potential, right? With all those guys that he's going to have the opportunity to draft with. And, again, as we've seen time and time again, when you start in the back, it's fine because all of a sudden, like if all of the Chevys or at least half of the Chevys pit, you just jump in with that group of Chevys and all of a sudden now you're in that pack and you guys can make moves together, right? There's not a sense of like, oh, I've lost touch and now I don't know what's going on. So if you're in the back and you pit around the same time as some of these other guys, you come out in a stronger situation than you did before you were going in. So I think this is an opportunity for Barry to sort of get his bearings together and did I say Barry? I meant Allgaier.
You did say Barry.
Barry getting his bearings together. No, Allgaier getting his bearings together and being able to collect himself. But I'm really high on Allgaier's potential in this particular race, and I think $7,000 seems a little high, but I think you're going to get good return on him because of the fact that he's in a fantastic car. He's got fantastic dancing partners out there, and he's just a damn good driver riding the high of a championship.
Well, Rod, I'll tease you a little bit. I've got some thoughts on Justin Allgaier when it comes to the underdog streets of things. That's going to be in my underdog article, sportsgamblingpodcast.com. That'll be posted later this evening. So I was working on that right before the show. I've got some thoughts. I don't know that they necessarily align with your thoughts, but again, I like the positive points that you made on him. He's one of those guys that you better hope he doesn't qualify too bad or he won't make the race. So I know you said you don't want him to qualify well, but he's going to have to qualify well enough to qualify in. So that could be the issue there. But if he does make the race, certainly could be a bit of an interesting play. Checking in with the chat real quick. Laura saying, hey, guys. Hey, Laura. She loves, I think that's supposed to be Justin, with Justine, but whatever he's going by these days, it doesn't really matter, Ron.
That's what he's going by.
It is true. That is what he's going by, his champ. JDK says, trying to catch up in the Discord. What are we liking for the poll? I did drop a couple of poll plays over there that I like, Rod. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, I think they're 12, 13-1, somewhere in there each. And Austin Dillon at 30-1 would be kind of my longer shot sprinkle if you want a couple of guys. I did give out Allgaier 50-1 about a month ago. Hopefully you got those. That's been really cooked since then, so probably not worth betting anymore. But Homer saying a goofy opening month, no regular ovals until March, which is very strange, but here we are. And Nick Fortune checking in. Good afternoon, Sassy, Cody, and Hot Rod. Appreciate the long episode yesterday. Have we seen odds for Cole Trickle to win this race? Unfortunately, no, Rod. Still searching for Cole Trickle odds. We will look high and low. There will be odds, or there is odds, for Jack Wood to win the Truck Series race, though. I know that Nick always appreciates the Jack Wood odds.
Who doesn't appreciate Wood odds? All right. There's some money to be saved because, believe me, in this economy, we need to save some money. So we will give you our low price drivers for this DFS slate to help you afford some eggs later on down the road.
Oh, that's more expensive than steak these days, Rod. So hopefully you can make some egg money here.
So the Chick-fil-A cows they're not even eat more chicken anymore. They don't care because that's how bad this gotten now.
It's exactly. But okay. Anyways, save some money, Rod, so we can afford those eggs later. Give me Ty Dillon. I'm big on the ties today. I like both ties in this race. Ty Dillon, a guy that I talked about on the show yesterday. He's only $400. Again, salary really pretty irrelevant in this whole conversation anyways, because you should be likely leaving a lot of money on the table at the end of the day anyways. But Ty Dillon, another guy that I think is going to be very under the radar when we get to Daytona, when we get into the 500. He's already guaranteed to make the race. Probably not going to qualify very well in a Colic Chevy. Maybe he does all right in the duels, moves up. Again, that's sort of part of the qualifying. So we'll see. But I don't think a lot of people are going to be on Ty Dillon. I love Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon is just really, really good at this type of racing, at being smart, making the right moves. He's not going to be mixing it up with the leaders all day. If you're watching him throughout the day, you're going to be like, this dude's a bum. He sucks. That's what you want. That's what you like to see, is him hanging back, staying out of trouble, let the chaos unfold in front of him, get around it, and be there at the end of the day. And so going back and look when he's done, wasn't at Daytona last year. He sort of took the year off from the Cup Series, ran in the Truck Series, but back to the Cup Series. 2023 in the fall race here, 11th place. Did have an engine expire in the 23 500, finished 40th there. As I mentioned yesterday, not going to hold that against him. That was when the Spire 77 car was complete total shit. It no longer is, and Spire's a lot better team now, but that team was much worse just 2 seasons ago. It's a completely different conversation now, but not going to hold that against him. 18th in the fall race of 22, but 11th in the 22 500. You like to see that. Back in 2019 in the 500, he had a 6th place finish in that Germain Racing 13 car. Also not a great car. 6th place in 2018 in the fall in that same car. 3rd place at Talladega in 2020 in that car as well. And this is the best car that he's ever had an opportunity. Colleague isn't let's run around and be super happy we're at Hendrick or something. But at super speedways, especially, those cars are good. Talked extensively about AJ Allmendinger yesterday. I really, really like him this weekend, and I like Ty Dillon as well. 13.5 is his average finish in the last 8 races at Daytona that he's been a part of. Again, taking out the engine issue, that 40th place. And again, best ride that he's had. So love me some Ty Dillon this weekend. He's a nice, cheap guy. Save you money and afford those eggs, $5,400.
Okay. I mean, again, everybody's in play, and I have to be nicer to Ty Dillon this year because he is teammate to my spirit animal and my spirit driver AJ Allmendinger. So I guess I have to say more nice things about Ty Dillon, and it'll start with the Daytona 500. Yes, I will back your play on the $5,400 because everybody knows the words that are about to come out of my mouth as my low price driver. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just listening to this for the first time and you have no idea that I am a gigantic, way OG Jimmy Johnson fan before the time that he was winning championships and proving everybody that he was the best driver in the entire world. But Jimmy Johnson, only $5,500 to round out your slate. Of course, he's got to make the race, which I think he's going to do because he is Jimmy Johnson, because he is the all-time greatest in the world. Look, I know he has not finished well in this race in the last 4 times he's been on this track. The 2020 season, he crashed out in that 48 car at a 35th place finish, 17th in this fall race of 2020 as well. But since his time in the 84, a crash in the first time out, the Daytona 500 2023, ended up finishing 31st, 28th in 2024. This will be his 3rd time attempting the Daytona 500. Something's got to give. Jimmy's going to have to finish well on this one. I just feel like now that he's in full control of his team, now that he's in full control of the company, maybe the wheels or the training wheels are off from him, and he relaxes a little bit, and he figures out that, this is not an end-all be-all. Let me go out there, have some fun, ride around. I know I'm just trying to help my teammates out, right? My employees, I guess, at this point, and to learn a little something for them through this car. He wants to lead by example, which is what every good leader does. And I think he realizes this time he's going to have to stay out of the track a lot longer than 196 laps or 203 laps out of 212, and be on the lead lap at the very end of this. So, I mean, look, Jimmy Johnson, if for nothing else, may get you some good place differential points and have a good solid finish compared to his $5,500 salary. But there's no downside to Jimmy Johnson other than him crashing out and finishing dead last. But I mean, you could get that same feeling if you roster a guy like Kyle Larson and he's up there and he crashes out after you spent a whole ton more money on him than you did on Jimmy Johnson. So just load me up on Jimmy Johnson. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is not really any bad plays. Even if you want to play Kyle Larson, we've seen him be, we'll say it a million times, he's been really good on super speedways. He just doesn't get the finishes. If he can get the finish, which he's done a couple of times, he certainly can be a good play. And same with Jimmy. We've not seen it lately, but we know he's got it in him, right? He is the 7-time champion, greatest of all time. He's won multiple Daytona 500s, I believe.
He's got 3 wins on this track altogether.
Yeah, he's done it before, so he certainly could get back there. Probably, again, won't be very popular if he does make the race because people are just kind of out on how Jimmy's been lately. So, I love that. JDK also pointing out Austin Dillon is 40-1 over on Bet365 if you got access to that. And then top 3s, top 5s for Xfinity and trucks are over there. So things are definitely starting to populate, which means we'll have a full show tomorrow.
We sure as hell will. All right, get out your pen and paper. It is time to go over our DFS plays from the DFS standpoint of it for this. Cody started you off with Kyle Busch as his high-price driver at $9,300. I said Ryan Blaney is my high-price driver at $9,700. Cody stepped down to Ty Gibbs at $7,400 for his mid-price driver. I said Justin Allgaier, not Josh Berry, at $7,000 for mine. And then Cody said Ty Dillon at $5,400 was his low-price driver. I said, give me all of the Jimmy Johnson that somebody can handle at $5,500 for my low-price driver. All right.
Yeah, that too left $5,700 on the table, so plenty of money to work with. And again, nothing wrong with leaving that much money or more on the table. And then just a quick reminder, Allgaier or Johnson, they do have to qualify into the race. So if they don't, obviously don't play them.
Yeah, switch them out for sure. All right. Well, then it is time to give you some of our favorite underdog fantasy plays for the Daytona 500. Of course, the premise is simple. Underdog will give you a projected finishing position for each driver. You just figure out whether or not they're going to finish better than or worse than that finishing position. Again, if you are new to underdog and you're used to the language of higher than or lower than, now we've made it easier because there was so much confusion as to what do you mean, like higher than number wise or higher than in the position wise. It was a little bit rough to put your head around. So the underdog cleaned up the language and it's giving you better than or worse than. So will they finish better than that finishing position? Or do you think they'll finish worse than? And a little tip to those of you, especially on super speedways, some of the best ways to go is the worst than, because there's only ways to go is down a lot of times, especially in those big wrecks. So you'll be hearing a lot of worse thans. It's not because we think they're bad drivers. It's just super speedway racing. So.
Yeah, it'll be a lot different when we get to COTA in a couple of weeks, when we get to Las Vegas, when we get to Martinsville, Homestead, these tracks. The conversation will be completely different. It's going to be a lot higher thans or better than at that point, I guess. For sure, just super speedway racing tends to be on the worse than side of things. That's how it goes, especially some of these generous projections they're giving us, which you love. You can play anywhere from 2 to 8 of these in your lineup, Rod. If you play 2 of them, it's 3 times your entry. Play 3, 6, then 4 is 10. All the way up to 8 picks, you can get 120 times your entry if you're able to hit all of them. They also have flex stuff in there too, where you can, if you miss one, you still get paid on it for a smaller amount and all of that. So make sure you check it out. Use that promo code RACESGPN. And Rod, there is no free squares on Underdog for super speedway racing, but about as close as you can get. Sorry, Chris. Is to fade Kyle Larson. Look, you can get over on Caesars. They're giving his finishing position as like 19.5 or something, but Underdog has his projection set at 7.5. Rod, 7.5 for Kyle Larson. This is just way too high of a finishing projection for a guy who does not do that. Again, I consider Kyle Larson to be the greatest race car driver on the planet at this current moment in time. But his one weakness, his kryptonite, is super speedway racing. He's not good at it. 47 career Cup Series starts on super speedways. 2 times he's finished inside of the top 5. Only 2 times out of 47. Both of those were at Talladega, not Daytona. Did finish 11th place here last season, which is not inside of the top 7, right? Which is what he'd have to be on the better than side of this. That's his only finish better than 18th in his last 7 starts at Daytona. In 21 career Cup Series starts at Daytona, only 3 times, 3 out of 21, he's finished better than 7.5. So 7th place or better. That means, Rod, 18 out of 21 times he's finished worse than. You're telling me if you're batting and you're 18 for 21 and I get a chance to throw you in my lineup here, seems like a pretty good deal, right? So I like that on Larson. Look, love the guy. Come COTA, come past, Homestead races past that. We're going to be talking a lot more about him. But for right now, you got to fade Kyle Larson. Worse than 7.5 is probably going to go in every single one of my many, many underdog lineups that I put in this weekend.
It's the number 1 commandment for a reason, and it's the one that has been able to hit for you more often than it's not. Corey checking in saying we need underdog fantasy in Ohio. Hey, start a letter campaign. That's
get those signatures, get it on the ballot. We'll get underdog in Ohio for you.
Yes, we will. All right, my first underdog play for this is Joey Logano. I'm going to take. He is also set at 7.5 for his finishing projection. I'm going to take the worst then as well for Joey Logano. He has only finished better than this twice in his last 11 races at Daytona. You think to yourself, but it's Joey Logano, right? He's got to be fantastic. I mean, he's all right, right? He finished 2nd in 2023 in the 500 and then 5th later on that fall. But outside of that, I mean, you got to go all the way back to 2019, the Daytona 500 with a 4th place finish there. Since then, 25th in the fall race, 26th in the 500 in 2020, 27th in that fall race, 12th in the 2021 Daytona 500, 23rd in the fall race, 21st in the 2022 Daytona 500. And that's an even year, by the way. Joey Logano, always good in even years, except for the Daytona 500, 12th in the fall, that race. 2023, he did finish as the runner-up in that race of the Daytona 500 in 2023, 5th place in the fall. But last year, he started on the pole, led 45 laps and crashed, finished 32nd. 2024, started 3rd, yearned for a good Daytona finish, right? Nope, crashed out, finished 31st. So twice in 11 shots for Joey Logano, finishing better than 7.5. So we say that he's the toughest guy to handicap or to predict in the garage, but this is kind of simple. And if I swing and only connect on two of 11 of your pitches, you're going to throw me that same pitch that you threw me every time, because guess what? I'm probably not going to hit it that next time. So Joey Logano, I think, is not going to get a top 7 finish. So give me Joey Logano worse than 7.5.
Yeah, if you want to try and predict what Joey Logano does, best of luck to you, Rod. I still cannot figure Joey Logano out, so I'm not even going to try to, Rod.
Well, I will, and that's why I will take my stand on Joey Logano worse than 7.5.
I like it. Speaking of Joey Logano, I'm going to go to his sort of pseudo teammate over in Josh Berry in the number 21 car. They have got his projection set at 12.5. And this one is another one that's sort of a head scratcher, Rod. Why they picked the number 12.5, I don't really know. But hey, we'll take it. All right. Josh Berry has 3 starts at Daytona in his career in the Cup Series. Obviously, newer driver, only his second full-time season, right? He's made a few other starts here and there. 3 career starts at Daytona, 26th in the fall, 25th last year in the 500, 22nd in the fall of 2023. So all of those starts not within 10 spots of being better than 12.5. Okay, so what about Atlanta? 3 starts there, 18th, 29th, 28th. Again, we're 0 for 3 on getting better than this number. How about Talladega? 36th and 16th in the 2 starts there. So 0 for 8 in his Cup Series career at finishing better than 12.5 on super speedways. Okay, but still newer, right? Small sample size. What has he done in the Xfinity Series, Rod? Well, he's got 5 starts at Daytona in the Xfinity Series. He's also not finished better than 12.5 in any of those 5 starts. There's been a couple of decent runs at Talladega, a couple of decent runs at Atlanta in the Xfinity Series. Sure, sort of apples to oranges in a way, right? Some of that stuff can transfer over, but at Daytona, it's not been good. 0 for 5 in Xfinity, 0 for 3 in the Cup Series, and 0 for 8 total in the Cup Series between all 3, the sample size that we do have. And really, he's not come that close. 18th place finish at Atlanta, so that was the closest. Well, it's the 16th place, I guess, at Talladega, but still, you're 3.5 spots away from this. And 22nd being the best finish at Daytona, I just don't see it. Give me the worst then on Josh Berry at 12.5.
Yeah, his iRacing stats are eye-popping, but not necessarily.
Wow, they moved it, Rod. It was 12. It was 12.5 earlier. It's now 13.5. So let me go back and update all of this. He still hasn't finished better than any of it on 13.5. So we're safe.
I mean, again,
they must have been listening, because they're like, shit, we fucked that up. But
they're like, we're gonna
still didn't adjust it enough. So,
hey, Tommy, come over here and fix Josh Berry's projection. Cody's telling me that it's too high. All right, well, let's move it down. Yeah, I love that doesn't change anything for us, but I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I don't know why you would even consider taking him better than on.
Yeah, just like, and sure, he's going to be in the 21. It's a sort of Penske car, and like TK says, Penske theme, like it goes great unless they crash out, which yeah, he's done that a couple times, and he hasn't done it yet. And that's not to say he can't figure it out. He also doesn't have a big extensive super speedway background. Like, he's a short track guy, an older guy for only being in his 2nd year, just hasn't done it a ton, and he's not been that good at it. So why it's and the other thing too, with the Joey Logano at 7.5 and the Larson at 7.5, these really small numbers on a normal week, how many guys can finish better than 12? 20, 25, right? At Daytona, it's 40 or 41. All of these guys can finish better than, and that's another reason that makes you really love taking the worse than side of things.
Indeed. All right, speaking of worse than, I'm going to add another worse than to the fire, and that's the driver formerly known as Brad Keselowski. He is just going by Brad these days.
Oh, he doesn't race for Penske anymore, but
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we'll continue the theme, I suppose, right? But Brad Keselowski, his finishing projection is set at 9.5. I'm gonna take the worst then on this one as well. Believe it or not, and I know that he's had 2 top 10 finishes in the last 3 races at Daytona, but both of those have been fall races. In the Daytona 500 last year, a 33rd place finish. In the Daytona 500 in 2023, a 22nd place finish. He did finish better than in 2022 with a 9th place, but before that, 13th in 2021. And then you got to go to a 36th place finish in 2020, a 12th in 2019 in the 500, a 32nd in the 18 500, 17 in the 17 500. He had finished 27th. I mean, it hasn't been good at the Daytona 500 for Brad Keselowski, a 20th. Like, he's only got one finish better than in the entirety of like the last, we're talking 10 years in Daytona 500 finishes. And it's eye-popping because you look, and again, like I said, you see those 2 great finishes kind of sandwiched in there, and you're like, oh yeah, that's great. But this is the 500. I mean, obviously, looking at his finishes, all bets are off when it comes to the 500 because he hasn't had a very good finishing position since, you got to go all the way back to 2014, really, if you want to look for a good 500 finish, where he finished 3rd, right? 2015, he had a 41st place finish in the Daytona 500. 2016, a 20th place finish. So, I mean, we're talking the better part of 11 years that he hasn't had a good, solid Daytona 500 finish for Brad Keselowski. 22nd place average finish on this track at all. 8 top 10s and 31 starts, 4 top 5s, 1 win, 15 DNFs in 31 starts. He doesn't, 50%, almost 50% of the time, he doesn't even finish, no matter what it is, fall, spring, whatever. So, difficult race for Brad Keselowski this week. I think he's going to finish worse than 9.5.
Yeah, and he was kind of the first example I brought up earlier when I was talking about guys that it's either all or nothing, and it lands on nothing more than it lands on all with him, especially at Daytona, especially in the 500. He's a guy like Kyle Busch that you'd love to see win it. Like, that's the one thing missing from Brad. If he can get that 500 win, that just really caps off what a great career he's had, and he's yet to been able to find that. For as good as he is at Talladega, where he's got, just as many wins as Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon and only trails Dale Earnhardt Sr., good company to be in, just hasn't quite figured it out as much at Daytona and really struggles in the 500. That year Michael McDowell won, him and Joey were the ones racing for it, right? They wreck each other, end up with a bad finish, and McDowell wins. It's not been able to go his way. And like you said, it's been really rough for a while, not been very good in this new car or at this track in particular. So hard to make a case for the better then. So I do like your worse than on this one as well.
All right. I love it. Who's last for you, Cody?
Save the best for last, Rod. Here's my one better than AJ Allmendinger. They got him at 16.5. Couple of things on this. The number is much further down, right? 16.5. Now, instead of having to beat everybody but 6 cars to be better than 7.5, he only has to beat all but 15 cars, right? But he's done a lot lately. 6th place in last year's Daytona 500, 6th place in the 2023 Daytona 500. Took a couple of years off from the 500 when he was in the Xfinity Series. So if you go back to 2018 to his most recent start before that, 10th place. 2017, 3rd place. That's 4 Daytona 500s in a row. Well under this, 10th place or better in all those. This is only 16th or better he has to finish. 3rd in July of 2018, 8th in July of 2017, 13th in July of 2016. Again, those are more recent starts for him because of the hiatus he took from the Cup Series. 6 of his last 7 starts at Daytona, inside of the top 10. Not only inside of the top 16, inside of the top 10. Been pretty decent at Talladega as well. Just finished 3rd at Atlanta in that late summer race when we were there last. There's no driver I'm higher on in this Daytona 500, Rod, than AJ Allmendinger. And he's going to control a lot of how my weekend goes. And I personally feel really good about that. He's my guy for this Daytona 500. So give me AJ Allmendinger better than 16.5.
Listen, you know that he is my spirit driver. I think we both have that fiery temper and wear our hearts on our sleeve, which is why I identify with him so much. So, yeah, I love AJ Allmendinger. I'm going to be cheering for him as one of my favorite drivers in the entire sport. So I love it. And I think he is going to be in for a good, because again, these Chevys there's a lot of them and they're going to stick together more often than they won't. And that's going to benefit guys like AJ Allmendinger and Ty Dillon, I guess, if I have to say nice things about him. So we'll go with that. All right. Speaking of having a lot of cars at your disposal to help you, Toyotas, not so much. There's a couple more this year, and that's fine, but it's not going to help a guy like Tyler Reddick, who, again, we envisioned great things for him all season long. I think we're really high on his potential and obviously to get back to the top of the regular season heap. But start the season, I don't know. Tyler Reddick, his projection is set at 11.5. I'm going to take the worst then in this one. Cody, if I, again, using this analogy, if I threw you 7 fastballs, or if I threw you 11 fastballs and you missed on 7 of them, right, and you only hit 3 of them, chances are I'm going to come right back to that fastball because I know you can't hit it, right? That's the same with Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has not finished 7 of 11 total races at Daytona. This isn't just 500s. This is total races. He's only finished 4 races in this track, and 2 of those were top 10s. 2 of those were top 5s. But his last 4 finishes at Daytona, 39th, 25th, 29th, 28th. It just doesn't matter. Just he's hit on hard times in that 45 car. He had a couple of good finishes in the 8 car when he was in his last couple of seasons there. A 5th place in the fall, though, of 2021, and a 2nd place in the fall of 2020. He had a 35th place finish in the 2022 Daytona 500, and then a 27th place finish in the Daytona 500 in 2021, a 27th place finish rather in the 2019 Daytona 500. Crashed out of all of those races. So you want to talk about just really, really bad luck for a really, really good driver. That's what Tyler Reddick suffered through in Daytona, just not really getting his footing on this track for whatever reason. And obviously in the Daytona 500, it's even worse. So I know we love him to death, but I don't see a top 10 finish out of Tyler Reddick this year, this Daytona 500, because it just hasn't happened for him before. And sometimes those gremlins, man, when they creep up in your head and you get on a situation where you've crashed out before and you know that you're not very good, just ask Kyle Larson. Those gremlins just they speak a little louder than the angel on your shoulder that goes, "You've got this, Tyler Reddick." No, it's the other guy going, "Go ahead, crash. You want to sit in the hauler for the rest of the day and avoid all the nonsense," right? That's me. I'm eating cookies. I've got my feet up on the thing, watching everybody else get crashed out. So, Tyler Reddick, worse than 11.5.
I think we should bring those characters to the show more often, Rob. That's where I'm going with that. But completely agree with you on this pick. You know how much I love Tyler Reddick. You picked him to be one of your championship picks this year. But he's not been good here. He's got that one outlier win at Talladega, but in his career as a whole at super speedways, that's a big outlier. He's not been, maybe it's the most talented guys just aren't good at super speedways. Him and Larson, I don't know what it is, but hasn't been good. So again, I like this. And who could finish in the top 11? It's not just 20 drivers. It's 40 or 41 of them. So you got to play the odds. Put these 6 picks in together, Rod. You can get 35 times your money. So yeah, put that entry in for $10. You can win $350 if you get them all correct. Pretty good deal, if I do say so myself.
It's a damn good deal. And what were those picks, by the way? It was Kyle Larson, worse than 7.5. Joey Logano, worse than 7.5. Josh Berry, worse than 13.5. Brad Keselowski, worse than 9.5. AJ Allmendinger, better than 16.5. And Tyler Reddick, worse than 11.5. Those are your underdog plays for the Daytona 500, baby. Qualifying happening in just a few hours. Actually, a couple of hours as we're sitting here. Or if you're listening to this later on tonight, it already happened. Or tomorrow.
Yeah. Maybe you're listening while they're qualifying. Who knows?
Ooh, that would be fun too. But definitely a lot more excitement to be had tomorrow. We'll be talking Xfinity and trucks and giving you our favorite betting picks for those. And then we'll wrap up the week at that point and send you on your way to enjoy the rest of the Daytona 500 weekend.
We're in it now, Rod. Cars on track the rest of the week. We're nonstop until the championship race at Phoenix. We have racing every single weekend. No 2-week breaks this year. You got to love it. Let's fucking go. We'll see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, Rod, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. There's a lot of it. Make sure you check it all out. I appreciate it. And see you guys tomorrow. Xfinity trucks. Oh, buddy. I'm excited to bet on those.
Yeah, it'll be our first Xfinity and Truck episode combined of the season or at all. So we're looking forward to having that. Just to answer Nick Fortune's question real quick, not a DFS or underdog pick. Chase Elliott under 17.5. Remember, for Caesars, under means better than. I take that.
Gosh. I don't know if I would. Elliott's, it's inconsistent finishes. I know I bet on him to win and stuff, but it could go either way. I don't know if I love that one.
Indeed. Well, I'll still take it. And then the over for Brad Keselowski, absolutely. I think that's still even a good pick as well. So, all right. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. There's a link in the about everything I got going on, whether it is here, whether it is on the back road with Seth and Elliott, which I will be tonight later on. If it's already there, go check it out on the YouTube channel for In Between Media. Then, of course, check out my other site where I've got a lot of fun stuff coming out, including Formula E, if I can find the odds for that.
Oh, Rod, if you're listening to this, go over to iFantasy Race's Twitter page. Ryan there made a meme, and it is Superman holding kryptonite with Kyle Larson's head on it. Couldn't get it perfected for the kryptonite to say super speedways, but this one is for Husker Zeeb, he says.
Got to love it. Oh, there it is.
Let's go. Shout out to Ryan listening live, doing the work as we record. Thanks for pointing that out, TK.
Oh, I love it. Beautiful. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Trucks and Xfinity. In the meantime, everybody, have yourself a fantastic day. Love you all. And let's go racing and let it ride.